What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Our guy, Nick Underhill, neworleans.football is the site. Nick, Mike Triplett, Brooke Kirkjaw, for the entire team over there at neworleans.football does great work. And unfortunately, Nick, it is shocking how quickly a season can seemingly change, right? From 2-0, 15 minutes away from 3-0, feeling firmly in control of a game, to now 2-2. The offense is putrid and broken and irredeemable. The Saints suck, and there's no chance they're winning the South. What is the actual truth of this team?
I mean, I think it's both. I mean, I think the offense is, putrid, terrible, looks bad. I mean, they haven't been good all season. So, I mean, the fact that they were 2-0, even when they were 2-0, I mean, I think there were obvious signs that things needed to be better on offense, and they would need to figure that out quickly. You're buying patience, though, in that time. And when you're 2-0, you can look at some of the stuff that isn't working right and think, well, hey, it's a new quarterback. And, Alvin Kamara is not there, and the offensive line's got to get better, and all these things got to improve. And then when you're 2-2, it's kind of, it's a little bit more of like a red alarm a little bit. I think they can still win their division, but I also think it's possible that like the offense isn't going to be good enough. And I mean, there's been 2 years of signs now, and things aren't necessarily getting better. So I do think that, I'm not at the fire everybody thing, but I think it's, you're back at that conversation you were at last year where you're looking at it. You got to have the conversations. You got to, figure out what has to happen to make sure that you don't have to make changes. But I mean, like, I think the thing that people don't understand is it's very easy to say, fire Pete Carmichael. If you fire Pete Carmichael, what are you doing? Like, how are you getting better? Who's going to call the plays? Like, Ronald Curry. Okay, but like, we've never seen Ronald Curry call plays in an NFL game. He could be a genius. He might not be. Like, so it's impossible to know that. You can't bring someone in and change your offensive system in the middle of the season, or the odds of doing that would be probably, success is probably very, very low. The odds if you try to do something like that. So I do think that your best bet is trying to figure it out with what you got, because, the time to make a move was during the off season. They tried, They looked around, they looked at their options. They didn't find a better option. They decided to stay with the guy they knew. Now you got to find a way to make it work. I mean, you got all the pieces there, but realistically, I mean, it is something that I think is alarming at this point. And when you are 2-2 and you lose 2 games in a row, and one of them looks like this last one, I mean, there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable people, and they're uncomfortable in that building. They know, they know it has to be better. And I think they are having those conversations. I do agree. And, no one wants to hear this, but like, I do agree with Dennis Allen that I think 4 weeks is a little bit too soon. But I think if you go to New England and you go to Houston and things are the same coming out of those games, I think you got to try to do something.
Well, and again, but kind of like you're getting at, right? This is not really an in-season fix sort of problem. But I don't know, Nick. It feels like the death knell's already been rung. When you look at y'all's video with Alvin Kamara after the game, where I can't remember the exact shape of the question, but I think it was something along the lines of like, are you surprised at the lack of offensive productivity? And Kamara's like, I mean, no, it's par for the course now, right? And he says the last 2 years, but really even then you could probably go to the last 3, kind of caught himself. And so I guess the thing is, Nick, it's like it's one of those deals where you're in the weird spot where, yes, it's only 4 games of frustration for this season, but it's built on 3 years of frustration, and now it looks like in a year where you had to have it, you're going to hamstring your way in the same way, or hamstring yourself in the same way, and that by the end of the year, the changes are just going to have to be made. So it's just an awful spot to be in. Like there's no quick fix here. You had a tweet where you listed off all of the personnel, all the weapons, right? Olave, Shaheed, Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and then basically we're just like, how is it possible to be this bad? Is it as simple as just the offensive line is bad?
No, I mean, it's a lot of things. Let me read you the Kamara quote before the video, before the cameras got over there. I was talking to him, and then the cameras came over. The stuff before the camera was even, stronger. We're going to have to find something. We're going to have some tough conversations about something because we're not getting it done right now, and this is not fun. I don't think anybody in here wants to lose. I'm not a loser. I don't want to lose for sure. We definitely have the locker room. If it was a talent thing, then I think we would have figured it out way sooner than what's going on right now. Like you said, it's kind of like a 2-year lull or something, like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So we'll figure it out. We're just going to have some tough conversations. It can't be the same old song every time. I mean,
that all feels like Pete Carmichael. Am I out of pocket for saying like he's saying coaching?
I mean, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but he listed off all the things it isn't in his perspective. So, I mean, you kind of get led to one place where they're frustrated. But, yeah, I mean, it's impossible to 3.4 yards per pass attempt. And it's not even just, stuff like that. You look at some of the stuff they're doing, it's just against cover 2, there's nothing going up the middle of the field. Middle of the field's open. Why aren't you going up the middle of the field? Why aren't you running routes there at least? It doesn't make sense to me. Some of the concepts, you have your go-to stuff against, cover 3. They aren't doing that stuff. It just – there's nothing over the middle of the field, the hole against cover 3. They just aren't running routes to these areas of the field. And it's not necessary, that they're all going to be open. But it's just, I'm not a football savant by any means, but there is just some core concepts that, from watching this offense for years, they just ran certain things against certain coverages and you saw them work over and over and over. And it's they have the same plays, but they aren't coming out at the same time that they used to. And it's just, sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand. And just some of the personnel stuff, a lack of understanding of personnel. Why are you running a screen behind Chris Olave who can't block? Why is he the anchor point? And if he fails, the play fails. And then the play fails. Yeah, of course it did. Jimmy Graham. Okay, you're down 2 tight ends, but maybe throw out the screen where you're running the ball behind just Jimmy Graham blocking on the outside where he's the fail point of the play. Maybe don't call that one. Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know. There's just some common sense stuff where it's just man, why is this happening? And it's just got to be, I don't know. I'm just sick of watching it, man. I'm just tired of watching the rough offense for multiple years in a row. It was supposed to be better than it is. And I understand everyone's frustration. I don't have the same, frustration as everyone, but I understand it. And it's just, it's, I don't know. It's exhausting to watch at this point, and it's got to be a little bit different. It's probably how LSU fans feel about watching their defense. It's just man, this sucks. But at least the good thing is when you have good offense and bad defense, at least that's entertaining. At least you're racing to 50 points.
True. True.
You're racing to 20 here, and you aren't getting there, and it's terrible.
No, we're Iowa when it comes to NFL Sunday, and nobody wants to be Iowa.
No,
except for Nebraska.
Nebraska probably actually would want to be. I mean, Nick, I don't know which one is harder to believe. The fact that you completed 23 passes for only 127 yards like you're talking about, or that Alvin Kamara had 13 catches for only 33 yards. Both of those are very hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you're running this weird reverse where you're handing the ball off to Derek Carr, and then it counts as a pass to Alvin, and he gets tackled 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage because you have Lynn Bowden trying to get a crackback block from a 4-yard split, and that's the whole if the play fails, if Lynn Bowden doesn't hit this block on a linebacker, come on, man, I don't, and then some of these screens they're losing yards on them. So yeah, I mean, I understand how Alvin's losing yardage on some stuff, but it's crazy. It was unbelievable, and I don't know. I've never seen 37 pass attempts for 3.4 yards.
Yep, I've never seen that either.
I don't have an answer. I watched it for hours yesterday. I don't have an answer. It just didn't. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost unbelievable that it. I mean, it is unbelievable it played out that way. I wouldn't. I don't know. You look at the numbers and it's how did this happen? And you go back and watch it and it's just I don't get it. I don't know why it happened this way. I've never kind of struggled to explain a game like this one. And look, I mean, guy has an injured shoulder. I'm sure that's a factor in it. It has to be. There wasn't a lot of good productivity down the field. He did miss some opportunities down the field. He did have Olave on the sideline on the one play, threw it behind him. He did have Olave down the field on the one to the end zone on the very next play. that's a touchdown if he throws that thing a little bit sooner or a little bit deeper. He didn't. So, I mean, it's not all just coaching. Like, I do think that Derek Carr's hands are dirty in this, and even before the injury. Like, I don't think that it's, they definitely did not hit the ground running. I had belief before the shoulder injury that they would get there. I still think they can, but, like, you got to put people in position to succeed, too. And I think he's kind of, like, fighting a little bit against that as well as everything else. And it's tough to overcome coaching when it's not putting the players in the best position to succeed.
And I want to revisit the Derek Carr element, though it feels like you answered a lot there. But real quick here, let's switch over to the defense because it feels like this entire year you could almost get a sense of frustration. You could feel a sense of frustration growing from the defense. Again, there's a lot of inverse parallels to Saturday where the pressure on them to be perfect is so extreme and the margin of error is so small that little mistakes loom large, and that when things start to go wrong, then there's almost a temptation to throw up your hands and say, well, what are we doing this all for anyway? The offense isn't going to do their job. Are you sensing anything like that out of the defense?
Yeah, I mean, when they're losing, I think there's definitely that frustration. I thought after the last game, it was definitely more a sense of frustration in the locker room. Like, some of the guys were even saying, like, you're asking them what happened here, why'd it break down, da da da. And it's just like, we gave up, like, there was a pass interference, and that was like basically it. That was the only thing that happened, So yeah. they were frustrated after the Green Bay game. I don't know if I picked up on that as much after this one, but I'll be honest, like I was like hovering. I was just talking to offensive players because that was the game to me. So I mean, I think there probably is a sense of that, and if it keeps going this way, I think that's naturally gonna grow a little bit. That at some point you gotta support the players, and I don't think it's just defensive players. I think there's frustration around the board right now, and it's got to, that's the stuff that happens. They had high expectations coming into this season. They rebuilt this offense. They look around, they see the weapons. I mean, how many teams have a better top three at receiver than Mike Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed? Like, and you're passing for 120 yards. Like, that's just incomprehensible, to a certain extent. You got Alvin Kamara. You got way too many good players. And I think if you look around and those guys aren't able to operate, I think the whole team's going to get frustrated at a certain point. I think it's a little bit too early for that to kind of like sink in too much, but you go through a couple more games like this, and I think it's going to start coming out. I mean, it's just impossible not to look at the situation and feel like, it should be better than it is, and it's not. So however they figure that out, like, it's something that has to happen quickly. And, the crazy thing is, it's like, I don't even think the bar's that high. Like, if they get this offense to just average, like, you can accomplish your goals, keep everything intact and figure it out. But, it feels like it just feels impossible to get that. Like, if they have to score 27 points in a game, like, I have zero faith in not happening right now. And maybe they come out and they change that and they blow the doors off and, everything's all good. But, like, it's impossible to have those feelings of confidence or even just not be pessimistic about it at this point, because everything we've seen so far is just, it's a little bit, it's a little inept. I mean, there's just no other way to put it.
Well, and so that's kind of what I want to ask you about. And I know you've been touching on this the entire time, so I apologize, but I do want to highlight it specifically because coming out of Sunday, there were a lot of takes along the lines of, I told you about Derek Carr. This is who Derek Carr has been and always will be, mid-level quarterback. How culpable is Carr in this gumbo of bad?
I think he's definitely, I think to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, I think he's been part of it for sure, and especially this week. I mean, it was a bad game. It was a bad quarterback game. It just definitely was. Has the injured shoulder. I'm sure that's a factor to some extent. Like, let's just be real about it. Like, I know everyone always wants to be like, someone's on the field, so they're good to go. You can't account for the injury. Well, like, I'm gonna account for the injury a little bit. Like, it had an effect on him to some degree. It had to have. I don't think he's hit the ground running at all. And this is kind of what we were talking about the whole time. Like, every time I would come on here during camp and talk about Carr, and I'd be like, look, he looks great in practice. Like, it's a controlled atmosphere. It would be alarming if he didn't look great in this, but it's going to be when there's pressure on him and he's in the red zone and all these areas where he struggled historically out throughout his career that we're going to kind of see what he actually is. And I think in some of those situations, he struggled for sure. And I mean, I think the excuses are kind of gone now. Like, the O-line played good enough. Like, it wasn't a major issue this week. Again, the shoulder's still there, but but it's got to be better. They got to get it rolling. They got to hit the ground and just kind of, get this thing cooking a little bit and get off the blocks. And, even when there is the play calling and all that stuff is an issue for sure, but it's not on every single play. And, there's just times where some stuff gets missed. There's moments of hesitation. There's, I think there's just a settling in process though that still needs to play out. And I'm not going to write a conclusion after the first month of the season.
Yeah.
But I would say that the first month of the season has been incredibly underwhelming based upon like what everybody expected to see. I don't know that it was going to be, the Chiefs or whatever, but it was supposed to be better than Andy Dalton, and it hasn't been. Like, it decidedly is worse than the Andy Dalton era right now, and it's got to be better. Like, you have healthy players, you have Derek Carr, you got Mike Thomas back. Like, dude, get the ball to Mike. Has run 10 slants this season, 10 total slants this season. In 2019, he was running 5.06 per game. Let's see that number. Like, get back to that. Like, run him over the middle. You have a cheat code. Use him on it. He's been targeted 6 times on him. 4 catches. Like, just throw that over and over. When it's 3rd and 2, like, run Mike on a freaking slant. Like, it is. I'm telling you, it's a great play. Like, but they just don't want to do it. And like, it's stuff like that where, you're kind of looking and it's like, yeah, the quarterback hasn't been great, but like, assist them a little bit. Like, give them that pass on 3rd and short. You don't have to throw 17 yards down the field with 3 vertical routes. I mean, do some things to help them out a little bit.
On 3rd and 2 is when they go deep, and 3rd and 11 is when they throw the slant. Like, that's the problem. Like, they've got it mixed up, and I don't know what it like. By now, like, the defense has the book out. They know that's what you want to do. It's completely backwards.
Yeah, it's maddening to watch, man. It's just like there's plays in this game, like they're going against cover 3 and they're running everything like just straight to the sideline. Like, it's just like you got the sideline as a defender. You aren't doing anything like to pull guys or move anyone. Like, they're just sitting on everything. And it's just like, damn, man, like, just do something to open somebody up a little bit. Like, I don't get it. Like, this game was rough. There was a lot of stuff in this game, and it's just even getting beyond that. Like, some of the common sense stuff, it's you're watching. It's just like, man, I don't like. I've always struggled my whole time covering the league, like criticizing coaching, because it's just like there's stuff that's over your head. Like, that there's just common sense stuff that like you can just watch. It's like, don't do that. Like, do something different. And I don't know why they exist in this space right now.
I mean, Brian Brzez's tight.
He looks good.
He looks good, TFL sack.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Malcolm Roach played pretty good.
Hey, a first-round defensive lineman playing well is something we will celebrate with the New Orleans Saints. Okay?
Yes, I agree. I just need the offensive line to get.
Yadam looks pretty good. Yadam had a good game again.
Yeah. I just need the offensive line to get their head out of their collective ass. And
Penning had a really good game. Give it up to Trevor Penning. He
Penning did?
Two pressures. Yeah, in the run game, I thought he was pretty strong. He had a pretty good game. I mean, relatively speaking, I think he's on the right track. So I think my level of concern on him, like, it's way down. So I guess if you're looking for a reason to be optimistic, like, that's one thing that was red alarm, and it's changed. So it is possible, but you got to figure it out.
All right. Well, here's to hoping that the Saints can do just that so we don't have to have another miserable football week like this week. Nick Underhill, neworleans.football is the site. It is the best resource for all your Saints news. I'm a proud subscriber for a couple of years. Trust me when I say it is worth it. Nick, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And the stuff on the website isn't as depressing as this spot every week. So.
No. Look, it's great insight. There's film reviews, film studies. It's the absolute best, and it's some of the most talented writers, hosts, conversators out there. So go check it out. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.